Dearest witness, consider this your most impertinent invitation to a memoir of utterly improper proportions, where the skeletons in my closet not only rattle their chains, but demand you pour them a drink and listen closely. Within these pages, you shall encounter no blushing debutante, no neatly tied conclusions, only the raw, unflinching chronicle of a woman who loved with wildfire intensity, grieved with tectonic force, and wore her scars like insignias of honor. Sink Pride and Prejudice meets Sharp Objects, a tale of red dirt soil and shattered expectations, where wedding vows collide with exploration that rewrites traditional relationship rules, and a uterus with 2 chambers becomes the least of our surprises. Will you accept this invitation? The carriage awaits. This story discusses sensitive topics, blending real experiences with fictionalized events, names, and timelines. It is not a factual account, but a storytelling interpretation. There we were, 2 20-somethings trying to find their way with nothing but each other and the stubborn belief that love could be both anchor and sail. The farm, once a sanctuary, had become a minefield of sideways glances and loaded silences. My father's hospitality, like his coffee, grew bitter with time. My brother's jokes carried the sting of thinly veiled judgments. Security work, they'd scoff, as if James Badge hadn't been left behind for all the right reasons. We escaped to a rental house with a landlord who smelled of cheap cigars and cheaper morals. A man who thought maintenance meant leaning in door frames to leer while I signed checks. But it was ours. For one crystalline year, we carved out a fragile peace. Mornings, me racing to the office in my small car I had since high school, past familiar inner cities made up of highways and country roads. The same pothole that always made my coffee slosh. Nights, James' hands kneading the tension from my shoulders after his shifts. His lips brushing the nape of my neck as the cats meowed nearby, always wanting attention. Sundays, lazy lovemaking under sun-dappled sheets, pretending we didn't hear the landlord's muttering through the walls. We were happy, or near enough to it, but peace, like our dubious landlord, had a habit of overstaying its welcome. That dilapidated rental, with its peeling linoleum and the landlord's ever-looming shadow, became our temple of transformation. We sanded our rough edges against each other, learning the sacred lexicon of us. How silence after a slammed door meant I'm cooling down. How a pong pressed to the small of my back during family dinners whispered, I'm here. Then Christmas morning, the tree lights haloed James' bowed head as he knelt amidst shredded wrapping paper, his work-roughened hands offering not just a ring, but a raw confession. I don't want to love anybody but you. Ever. My yes jumped from lips before he was able to utter his remaining words. His mother, a steel magnolia with a clipboard and a can-do attitude, orchestrated our garden wedding with determination and precision. Sunflowers clung to the arbor where we swore forever. My father even managed a toast without sarcasm. And when the minister declared us man and wife, I jumped, literally, giddy and in love. The cake was tasty and the goodbyes were overly hugged out. As we drove away, the family scribbled, just married, on the back window. Home. Bed. The consummation was a formality by then. We'd christened every room weeks prior. But oh, the blasphemous thrill of knowing heaven wouldn't frown on our hunger now. We feasted like sinners granted absolution, his hands tutoring my hips in new devotions, my nails carving psalms into his back. Daily, sometimes hourly, and through it all, the quiet miracle, this rough-edged man who quoted Marcus Aurelius while changing the oil, whose calluses I could feel as he rubbed my skin, but whose voice gentled when I cried. My teacher, my lover, my unlikely sanctuary. The first signs were subtle, a fatigue that clung like wet wool, a tremor in his coffee cup that he blamed on too many night shifts. But then came the clutching at his chest, the gasping certainty that this was the end. The frantic goodbyes whispered between ER visits. Doctors scribbled prescriptions for maladies they couldn't name. I learned the weight of his head against my shoulder. In waiting rooms that smelled of antiseptic and dread, we became reluctant scholars of his failing body. James, my brilliant, prescient James, who'd stockpiled N95 masks and rice sacks before COVID's first whisper on the news, now found himself at war with an enemy he couldn't outthink. The man who could dissect geopolitical fallout over breakfast now needed help buttoning his shirt. When the furlough notice came, I greeted it with perverse relief. 3 months of government checks meant I could tether him to the couch, monitoring each labored breath. Our crumbling rental became both prison and sanctuary, the landlord's smirk growing wider as the roof leaked and the pipes groaned. Then, one Tuesday, enough. What followed was a whirlwind even James hadn't predicted. I packed like a woman possessed, dishes wrapped in bedsheets, the cats corralled mid-hiss, our entire life crammed into a U-Haul in 48 frenzied hours. We left the key on the counter with a note scrawled in eyeliner, the only writing utensil I could find in the chaos. Fix your damn house. The truck's engine roared to life. James' hand found mine, and for the first time in months, we breathed in sync. The land knew our blood before we ever set foot on it. 60 acres of red dirt soil, staked by James's ancestors in the frenzy of a land run, then abandoned to the creeping embrace of pecans and possum grapes. We arrived like rain after drought, our manufactured home, glinting silver under the sun. A spaceship landed in the middle of God's own overgrown Eden. The math was tight. $500 a month, paycheck stretched like taffy. But James had plotted every variable. My credit score, his prepper's foresight, and the stubborn ghosts of our pioneer kin conspired to make it ours. No landlords, no leaks, just the whispering trees and the ponds glinting like scattered coins. At first morning, I stepped onto the porch barefoot and was baptized by the sheer aliveness of it. Bullfrogs tuning their orchestra, the pecans dropping with soft thuds, the air thick with the green scent of unchoked freedom. James wrapped his arms around me from behind, his chin nestling into my hair. "Told you we'd get here," he murmured. "We were poor as church mice and rich as kings." The work-from-home revolution granted me a peculiar kind of freedom. I could attend Zoom meetings in my pajamas while watching James through the window as he wrestled with the land. My man, once a deputy who commanded respect with just a glance, now spent his days battling rogue fence posts and overgrown brush. At 27, his body was a roadmap of old injuries, a back that stiffened like warped wood by noon, knees that crackled like static on a bad radio. Yet he persisted, driven by some unspoken need to tame this wild inheritance. Our evenings became a shared liturgy of labor, me trading spreadsheets for work gloves, joining him under the honeyed light of dusk until our muscles burned and our clothes were streaked with red earth. But then, the cruel twist. The cats. Those velvety shadows who'd curled against us through every storm, whose purrs had been the soundtrack to our love story. Now, they were James' tormentors. His body rebelled violently, his skin flushing angry red, his eyes swelling shut. We vacuumed twice daily, bought air purifiers, bathed the cats in allergen-reducing shampoos. Nothing helped. The night he woke gasping, his throat closing like a vice, I knew. Giving them up felt like tearing out a piece of my own history. I sobbed into their fur as I packed their favorite toys, their well-worn blankets. The woman who took them sent photos. They lounged on her sunlit sofa, blissfully unaware of the heartbreak they left behind. James's relief was palpable, his guilt even more so. Dearest watchers, thank you for spending this time with me. If this story resonated with you, the full Most Improper memoir awaits on Amazon. Find a link in my bio, along with my memoir will be Most Improper and Support Small Authors merch, with the QR code to my memoir. Please help me extend my reach and tag for featured posts. Join me for new content. YouTube Shorts Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. Full chapters Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. and weekends at 8 p.m. TikTok Tales drop Tuesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. Instagram Secrets Wednesdays and Saturdays at 7 p.m. Your support means everything. Subscribe, leave a comment, and share with a fellow Rebel reader. All links are in my bio. Until next time, stay gloriously improper.